I don't know how many people will actually find this beneficial, but at the very least, it's informative, in case you have a family member or somebody waiting for a liver, or they have a transplant scheduled, or they're on the list. I, because of what happened to me, it was a very sudden failure. I was moved to A1 status, which means anything that came through that was my blood type, and that the ducts were in the not ducks like quack quack, but the ducts, D-U-C-T, because it's like finding a puzzle piece, and it has to be the right blood type. So any liver that came through that matched me and fit me went to me. So I was flown to UCLA, and at that point I was unconscious. My liver, because of all the Tylenol that was in the meds that I took, and I was not suicidal. You would think I was not, but it cooked my liver. When they took it out, it like broke, which seems impossible, but the surgeons reaffirmed that it's the truth. Dr. Busattillo, who is like the lead hepatic surgeon at UCLA hospital in Brentwood, California, verified that. Anyhow, what to expect? Mine was different because it was emergent, but what is it like being the patient waking up? The first thing I remember was opening my eyes and having this feeling like I couldn't speak, and that's because I couldn't. I had a breathing tube down my throat, and so they showed me this big like board that had different words on it, and there was only a few. There was like pain, hunger, sad, one that said like what happened, a bunch of different things. And so of course the first thing I said was pain, because it hurt really bad. And to get to your liver, because it's kind of like wedged up under your rib cage, they have to cut. I don't think you can see it. Kind of. They have to cut from about here all the way down, and so they cut through your sternum with, I'm assuming, is a pretty brutal saw, and then they pry you open, and they take out whatever they have to move aside so they can get to your liver to remove it. Some people are lucky enough to where they only need a partial one because it is an organ that regenerates. So if you still have healthy portions of your liver, you can get a piece from a living donor, or a donor that has passed on can split theirs into two, which is really miraculous. It's kind of like when a lizard gets their tail pulled off, they grow a new one. Well, if part of your liver is damaged, whether it's from hepatitis C, whether it's from drinking, Tylenol, there's some other illnesses that can really damage your liver, lupus, mono, actually, Epstein-Barr, certain cancers. So anyhow, but that was not my case. I needed a whole one. And so when you wake up, there's like this immense pressure, because the swelling, because you're retaining, the water from the trauma, or not water, fluid. I had 5 drainage tubes and they're like, they have like these balls hanging off of them that constantly are collecting the fluid. So I had 5, so all over the place. My right arm was blue, black, and dark, because I had the, I don't know if you can even see it. I'm not using Christmas lights, but it healed nicely. I have no idea if you guys can see that, but this big, one of the 2 double bypass spots, and then the other one is on my groin. So Yes, my right arm was completely black. And I was super puffy. Like everything was like my hands. I have huge hands for. I'm only 5 feet tall. My hands are massive. Yeah, it's like as big as my head, and I have a big head. So my hands were every finger was just like sausages, and along with my face, everything. And then they put you on IV, I mean, a ton of stuff, a ton of steroids, this antiviral stuff. And so you hallucinate. At least that was my situation. I was hallucinating very, very scary hallucinations. I deserved it considering what I did. I mean, none of it was intentional. I was not myself anymore at that point. But yeah, I definitely got my punishment. Terrifying hallucinations about bugs and these crazy like jaguars chasing me onto a rock. And it was so real. And then I also had this hallucination that my nurse, who I thought was very handsome, was like taking me on rides outside of the hospital. And I was like, "Did we go somewhere?" And he was like, "No, you definitely have not left." Um, and so, anyhow, the pain, it would come and go. It actually wasn't too bad considering because I was numb. It cut through everything. And you should expect to have a very, very distended belly. Mine, because they had to put this mesh inside, my abdominal muscles are still separated. So all I have to do is eat or retain a little water or anything, and it looks like I'm pregnant, which was really fun to explain to people afterwards. But again, I'm lucky to be alive, so I figured any embarrassment, discomfort, unattractiveness. I mean, I got up to like almost 200 pounds. I was not my best version, but I was alive. So you'll be there for about a month. You will go in and out of feeling, well, at least the guilt was almost debilitating. I went back and forth between feeling so grateful, it was almost like being like um completely bipolar, and I actually ended up getting diagnosed with that because it changed the way my brain worked, because my liver failing flooded my brain and my body with ammonia, as well as just toxins, because your liver's job is to clean everything. And if it doesn't work, everything goes everywhere, especially to your brain. And your emotions turn off and you go away. It's a really terrifying feeling upon reflection. But in that moment, in the moments where I was flooded with whatever, I felt nothing. I did not have a personality. Nothing had any weight, or I did not understand the gravity. Actually, correction, I did. It just didn't matter. It was really, really bizarre. It was a very strange experience. But coming out of it and waking up and, thank God, eventually getting that breathing tube out, you go through a wave of feeling guilty and grateful, especially if you got a liver from somebody who had to pass away. So you go through that whole, like, someone had to die so I could live thing. That takes a while. And then you find some purpose in meeting other people that come into the unit. And I actually met a girl. I need to make a separate video about it. She was so sweet. She'd already had a transplant and she was rejecting it. And I think she had like a rare blood type. And she was married. I don't think she had any kids, but she had brothers. And she asked me to write a letter to her. Actually, no, I think she did have kids. She did have kids, and siblings. And she asked me to write a letter to her parents, to her husband, and to her kids. And so to everybody. And I actually found it the other day. The not the original letter because she gave that to her family, but I found the rough draft and I saved it. Um, and then I put it somewhere for safekeeping and I can't find it right now, but I know it's in like one of like 3 or 4 places. So it's here. Just not exactly sure where here. But she had me say to each person what she loved about them and her advice for the future. And because this poor girl, she was having hallucinations that her husband was dying, that he was kidnapped, that he was missing. While she was in the hospital room with me, because it was a 2-person hospital room, she called the cops. She reported him as like suicidal, like a bunch of things. And I didn't know what to believe because I didn't know her, and it turns out it was not true. He showed up and he reassured her, but that didn't last. Her brain was being flooded full of toxins, and I knew what that was like. But for me, my emotions just disappeared. For her, hers were just heightened, and I think it was just all of her fears were happening to her. And I got transferred to a less, like a lesser area to where it wasn't as like intense, like intensive care. And she ended up passing away. And they were really grateful for the letter. That was a hard one. Then I met another girl who, her and her boyfriend would try to take as many Tylenol PMs as possible because she did speed to see how long they could stay awake with them. And that killed her liver. And she told me about how, and what was creepy, I think her name was Ashley. She was really nice, really skinny, beautiful, beautiful. But the whites of her eyes were blood red. And I didn't tell her. I mean, like, she's had a liver transplant. Like, I'm going to be like, hey, by the way, your eyes are like freaking me out, But she talked about how she had one of those scions, the ones with like the hamsters and the party rock in the background. She called it the toaster, or her toaster, because so now every time I see those, I think, yeah, they kind of do look like a toaster. But as far as I know, she was doing good. I would see her every once in a while at clinic, because clinic was only every Tuesday. So you'd show up to get your labs drawn, to get your Prograph levels tested, and your AST and ALT and bilirubin and all that stuff, to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. And tell you what, that is one depressing room. Not everybody, a lot of people are yellow, really puffy from all the prednisone. It's not a great vibe. Anyhow, so that's one thing you have to look forward to is a lot of labs and a lot of meds forever. The labs stretch out farther and farther. Now it's like once every 6 months to a year. Thank you, Jesus. Because I got mine September 28th and I came out on September 29th of 2006. So I'm only less than 2.5 years shy of 20 years, which is pretty wild. Damn, it's a long time. But if you end up with one like I did because of accidental overdose, then you probably go to the psych ward after you are mostly healed up, because you're going to feel a little crazy. And that's a whole nother